Welcome to the Georgia Department of Education screencast for second grade teachers. This video will share instructional activities that you can use throughout your year of teaching social studies in second grade. The video focuses on promoting historical thinking and inquiry in our classrooms. More specifically, we want to promote good questioning and good thinking. Picture for a moment the typical stereotype of the social studies classroom may be captured in this image. Who is doing the questioning in this classroom? What is the teacher's role? What is the student's role? Instead of just looking on social studies as stuffing answers into our students' heads, why don't we flip that and have our students wake up and start asking the questions themselves? One of the ways we can provoke that questioning is with images and primary sources. It's really important that students generate their own questions about the images that they're exploring. What are some questions your students might have about this painting if they knew nothing about it on first viewing? Pause the video and think about what your students might ask. Note that although we're using one image here to explore several different instructional activities throughout the screencast, you can use multiple images from any of your second grade units to develop students' observation and questioning skills. These are very versatile activities. Here are some more ways that you might build questioning and thinking skills with your students. For whole group analysis, annotating an image is a good strategy for your interactive whiteboard. In order to model one way to analyze a photo, you can do this whole group. You could do this with your whiteboard or a PowerPoint, or you could use a poster size image you can have students add sticky notes on with their questions. I'm going to demonstrate the digital version of this. So first I would give them some overarching questions. What do you see? And we would talk about that. What thoughts come to your mind? What does this make you think about? And then what questions do you have? And this is where we want to open it up and let the students really guide our questioning. So they might ask, who are these people? They might ask, is this the first time these two kinds of people had met one another? Or they might ask, what kind of building are they in? What kinds of questions would your students probably ask about this painting? Another activity that you can do with having your students observe and question and think is to demonstrate 4 quadrants thinking. This is where you take an image, and we're going to be using the same image again, but on your interactive whiteboard or within PowerPoint, you want to mask all but one quadrant of the image and concentrate on just that one segment, asking students to tell everything they see and generate questions that come to mind. I would introduce my class to quadrant analysis with this kind of whole group activity before doing it in small groups, as I'm going to illustrate next. So you will introduce them to one quadrant at a time, masking the other 3 quadrants, and then put it all together and have the students talk about what they see. What we generally find is that the sum is greater than the parts. When we put it together, we have more questioning because we've looked closely at each of the quadrants. Another variation on 4 quadrants is to make copies of your image, and I would laminate these so that you can reuse them from year to year. Cut each image into 4 quadrants. Each group of students gets an image set of 4. You have them work in groups to brainstorm questions about each quadrant. Encourage them to slow down and really look at each quadrant singly and carefully, one at a time. Tell them to resist the urge to put their whole picture together too soon. This deepens the questioning, the observing, and the thinking that they do about the image. Discuss how examining each quadrant provides more information, and discuss how their questions change as they examined each quadrant. This could be used prior to researching what the painting actually is depicting. In fact, it makes a very good introductory activity for a unit. You could say, this unit we're going to be talking about some of the people in this painting. Tell me what you see. Tell me what you think. Tell me what questions you have. Groupthink is another way to work with an image and promote historical thinking. You'll want to divide your students into groups of 4 to 6. This screen shows the first step, sort of a cold read of an image. Students jot their first responses and questions within the blue box. What you want to do is prepare your chart paper with the center space saved for the image, surrounded by a blue outline box and a green larger box. Laminate multiples of this basic template. 6 should be a good class set. And then you can use those same 6 pieces of chart paper all year long for multiple units, just replacing the images in the center with images of Sequoia, for example, or Dr. Martin Luther King, or Jimmy Carter. For the Georgia Founders unit, I would have this painting on one chart, an image of Oglethorpe on another, a map of the Georgia colony on another, etc., so that each group is examining a different image or source. Then all could share out after all the layers have been completed. We've examined the painting in the middle, and we've jotted our first observations, reflections, and questions within the blue box. Now we're ready to move to step 2. In step 2, you provide your students with one clue at a time about the painting, in this case a short text passage. You'd have your students read that text passage either independently or as a group, and then you would ask them what questions it prompts, what questions they now have about the painting based on this background information that you're adding to their understanding. One question students might ask is who the people are in the painting, or when was this painting made? What other questions might your young learners think of? Next, your students fill in the second layer within the green box with their reflections and questions based on both the image and the amount of text that you provided in Clue 1. Talk about their responses. And next, you provide a second clue, some additional text about this painting. Notice that we are reinforcing multiple literacy skills throughout this entire activity. Students are reading, writing, discussing, thinking, and interpreting what they see. They're also coming up with good questions, and good questions make good thinkers. They read this second piece of text, and then, of course, now that they know more about that image, they report out one final time on the Groupthink chart. Hopefully, your students' thinking and questioning deepens with each step of this activity. Remember that we've used one painting as our example, but this activity can be done or adapted to use with multiple images and primary sources from any unit we teach. So ideally, these thinking and questioning activities will take our social studies lessons from this to this. Let's spur great questioning from our second graders. I hope these activities shared in this screencast will be a helping hand to you as you teach social studies. Be sure to look for other videos in this series made especially for second grade teachers.